Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Daniel.
And we're from Filmcraft. And we're starting a new series of Filmcraft movie reviews. This is our first review, and it's going to be a Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The movie that I've seen, and he hasn't.
Yeah.
And why is that, Daniel?
Because, everybody, you refuse to send me money.
Oh, is that why? I wonder why I saw it then.
Because, everyone, Andrew beats me. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Andrew a few generalized questions. It's not to ruin the movie for me, so I can still see it, because I do plan to see it whenever hell freezes over and money starts forming out of my ass.
To preface this is a spoiler-free...
There are spoilers. Spoilers.
To preface this is a spoiler-free review. So, no spoilers. I might do a spoiler review later. I might not. I might just go ahead and wait until this guy actually sees the movie before I do a spoiler review.
That'd be best. Okay. So, Andrew, what are your general ideas of the movie Rogue One?
Like my first thoughts, my overall impression, like when I walked out of the theater, like the overall feeling.
As in, first out the movie theater, you know, everyone's throwing their popcorn away, everyone's throwing their snacks away, people are telling their kids to shut up, and they're walking out talking about the movie.
Overall, like, when I walked out of the theater, I thought it was really, really good. Not great, it wasn't great, it was good. It was a very good movie. It was one that, it did pretty much everything that I just about thought it was going to do. I mean, because it didn't really walk in here with a whole lot of high expectations. I mean, I know it's a Star Wars movie, and everyone's got those extremely high expectations, but I was like, this is a really new, like, really experimental thing that Star Wars, or that Lucasfilm is doing for Star Wars. It's something that we've never seen before in terms of having a story that doesn't revolve around the Skywalker lineage and the Skywalker family and doing a completely separate, isolated story from the rest of the big overall picture. So I go into this movie, and unlike any other movies that you're going to do in this Star Wars saga, it's one that you know the story immediately going in. You know the beginning, you know the middle, you know the end, basically, because the whole story is revolved around the opening crawl of the fourth movie.
Now, do you feel that if someone has never seen a Star Wars movie but someone saw Rogue One, it's pretty user-friendly to first-time Star Wars viewers?
No.
No.
No. This movie is peppered with the Star Wars lineage. Which, honestly, if you at least see Star Wars, the very first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, you will pretty much understand everything that goes on in this movie.
So, precursor, watch Episode 4 of Star Wars because it's probably one of the best ones.
I don't think precursor was the right word for that, but whatever. And yeah, exactly. That, what it is that, you're not ever going to have to worry about that, though, because I'm pretty sure that every single person on the planet who's ever going to walk into Rogue One has seen at least a Star Wars movie at some point.
But that's one thing that people need to, like, think about, too, whenever, I feel like people should think when they make movies like this. They make movies that are supposed to be, I don't want to call it a spin-off. What's the word?
It is a spin-off movie.
Okay,
it honestly is, it's a prequel, but it's kind of a spin-off prequel.
But it should still have a little bit of entryway for new fans to come in.
So my overall impression, it was a very, very, very solid movie. It was a good movie. I would rate it fairly high, but it's not perfect. It's not perfect. This movie has flaws, and I'll get to those flaws later. But overall, my impression, I was satisfied. I was very satisfied. I was very emotionally satisfied. I was very visually satisfied. And I actually got a little bit more than I expected going into this movie, because I did not have high expectations for it.
Which, side note, fans, is really hard to do for Andrew with a movie.
Really kind of is.
In this movie, would you say that they introduce newer aspects to the Star Wars storyline?
New aspects? Sort of. You're really seeing a lot of the things that you've seen before in Star Wars in terms of the technology, the mythology, certain kinds of characters, many of the kinds of aliens, a lot of the aspects of the story. You really are seeing a lot of the traditional Star Wars things, which is great. It really makes you feel very home in this movie, which I really got to give it to. I don't know so much if it is Gareth Edwards, the director, or if it is just the direction that he was given from from the studio itself, but they got a really great handle on the Star Wars franchise and the legacy and the visual aspect to Star Wars. So you really get that feel, and there are some new things to it, because this movie is really kind of about showing the grittier aspect of Star Wars, and especially the grittier aspect of the Rebellion and its fight with the Empire, because it is introducing characters that are on kind of the wrong side of the tracks. They are really the characters that just do the kind of the dirtier things that the Rebellion doesn't really talk about, that you don't really see in like the pristine areas of the Rebellion that they show you in the movies. You know, the obvious good guys versus bad guys. And in this movie, they actually show you kind of characters that do some really shady things. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't. But Rogue One is full force. It is a war movie. When you are in this movie, when they're in the trenches, when they are down into the nitty-gritty of the straight-up fight against the Empire, you feel every bit of that fight. Like, whether it's on the ground or in space, you feel the urgency to any of those fights that they're in. Those aerial dog fights, those the ground storming the beaches. It is gritty.
Okay, in this movie, does the female lead character bring enough to the table to make her seem more than just a female lead character, as you've seen in most of these female lead character movies?
Alright, so I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this one, but honestly, between her, Felicity Jones' character of Jyn Erso, between her and Rey from Force Awakens, I honestly prefer Jyn. Between the two. And I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for that, but honestly, Rey in Force Awakens just did not seem like a fully fleshed out character. They had a lot of aspects to her and a lot of aspects about her, and there's a lot of mystery about her. And because of all that mystery, I'm incredibly intrigued to see where the franchise goes with her. But honestly, with Jyn, I just felt a lot of humanity to her. I felt a lot of what she went through, what she's been going through, which is also kind of to the movie's detriment, but I'll get to that in a minute when I go into the more negative aspects about it. But straight from the beginning, the first thing that you see is about her story. There's a lot of really interesting characters in this movie. Donnie Yen's character, he's a blind, force-sensitive, kind of real badass. He is incredibly badass. He's this blind guy, he fights with a stick, and he has every single moment that he's in where he's fighting, he's just taking out people like crazy. And he's really, really interesting. And he has this sidekick character that who's the big muscle-bound bruiser guy that goes into the fight with this high-powered weapon and just mows down everyone around him. They have this really great rapport between each other. Every single time they're talking to each other or talking about someone else, they're really, really funny. And that's a big thing about this movie. A lot of the scenes between a lot of these characters and their interactions, they are really funny.
Now, could you almost say it's like the future Han and Chewie thing?
Kind of, yeah. They have a very Han and Chewie way about them. Which you would think you would get that from a couple of the other characters. K2SO is the name of the droid character that's in this movie, because it's a Star Wars movie, they're gonna have a droid character. So and he's he is a reprogrammed Imperial droid, and he is sarcastic as hell. Because everything he said, he is just littered with sarcasm and personality. And he is like the real personality of this movie. He is hilarious. When it comes to him and Captain Cassian Andor, he is the scoundrel type. He's kind of the Han Solo type, but he really is like the super scoundrel type character. He is the one who the Rebel Alliance uses to do a lot of their dirtier dealings, their much dirtier dealings. Like the first time they even have him in the movie, he is just straight up kill somebody with no remorse. I'm not going to spoil who it was, but it is... Alright, or maybe actually he had a little bit of remorse to it. Honestly, when you see the look in the face, he had remorse to it, and he talks about it later in the movie about how these things do kind of affect him. But he is... he's a full-on scoundrel, he's a full-on kind of assassin-type character, and between him and K2SO, you'd think you would have that Han Chewie thing with him, and it's not. It's between Donnie Yen and his sidekick, the Big Bruiser. So yeah, there's a lot of those, and there's this defected... Imperial cargo pilot who comes into it. He's kind of like the nerd type who's not really a soldier, not really one who would risk his own life for a cause, but he does come into it, and he brings a lot of heart to it as well, because you kind of feel a little bit for him. So all in all, there's a lot of great characters. There's a lot of great characters, even though they don't really spend a whole lot of time with them and actually developing them.
Now, we've gone over everything. It sounds like you liked about it. What is it that you did not like about Rogue One?
Okay, so like I said, straight from the beginning, they jump into what's going on with Jyn Erso and her backstory, which is what kind of presents the problem. They immediately introduce something that is actually really interesting. It is really cool what they do with her right from that very opening scene. But what happens immediately after that opening scene is just more character introduction. Like they pop around planet to planet to planet to planet to planet to planet to planet over and over and over again, really, really fast, very jarringly, where you don't really get any time to actually take in what's going on with these planets. Something that Force Awakens did really, really well, which is something that the original trilogy did really, really well, is that they used their new planets and their new worlds very sparingly. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of new planets and new worlds that they went to, so you really got to absorb the atmosphere of those worlds and the things that were going on in them and the intricacies about them. So, which made them feel more lifelike and more Star Warsy. What happens with this is that they introduce each one of the new characters, the members of Rogue One, and everything that's going on with them so quickly that they don't really give you a whole lot of time to actually really get intrigued and involved with them, other than Jyn Erso. So for the first third of this movie, it's a lot of character introduction with very minimal action or effects. Or real heart, or real depth, or real time to really slow down and breathe. The pacing of it is it's really kind of off right there. It's slow, it drags, but not super bad. Not like really, really like painstakingly, oh god, when are we going to move on kind of bad. So, straight from the beginning, there's that problem, but the moment it picks up, like, I'm not going to totally spoil it, it's just a moment where they introduce the destruction of something. From that moment onward, everything really ramps up in terms of the stakes, all the characters' involvement with what's going on. There are attempts to stop whatever's going on, to stop this whole, to stop the Death Star from being completed or from being used. From there onward, they really, really ramp it up, and they get into the action and the grit and the badassery. But it's just, for that first third, it's really difficult to get invested with what's going on, because it's a lot of exposition and constant character introduction, and not really getting any time and depth with those characters, which presents the second problem. Through the rest of the movie, you don't actually get any real depth to the characters. You get their interactions with each other and how they are going through what they're going through and how they're dealing with it, with these problems, and how they're trying to stop the Empire basically on their own at a certain point. They're pretty much tasked to do it on their own, which is really cool. But you don't actually get to know the characters even more. You're just seeing them interact with each other and in this world, so you don't end up caring about them a lot. I personally did kind of care about them, because I didn't really feel they needed a lot of depth, but I can tell where a lot of other people would feel they needed a lot more depth.
On a scale of 1 to 5.
On a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this movie a 4.
4 Death Stars.
Yep, 4 Death Stars. I would give this movie a 4. 4-star rating.
Okay.
4 Death Star rating.
4, and yes. I feel like we're going to have to put 4 Death Stars in the bottom of this rating too.
Right.
Alright.
And there's a lot more of this that I could talk about in the spoiler review if we do a spoiler review. And there's a lot of things I want to talk about, but I want to wait until you actually see the movie for us to do that.
So get ready for that. We will be working on that just as soon as you send me money, people. Just kidding. Don't send him money. Please send me money. Don't listen to him. I have rent to pay.
Alright, I'm Andrew.
I'm Daniel.
This is Film Crap.